Hey, it's Diesel at Stacked Off-Road, and we're gonna do all these fun jobs. New, exciting, the newest of the new. But we have a lot of passion, we love doing it. This is a 2020 Rubicon JL 2-door. Now, the difference in the 2-door and the 4-door all is in the gas tank. So on these new kits, they call it the T-Rex. The rear of this Jeep is going to get all the long arm suspension and the ground clearance upgrades that they come up with at Krawler to get the suspension all up as high as we can for ground clearance. The front is actually going to be your standard mid-arm. So that's where they get the name T-Rex. So we're going to lift this thing up and show you the gas tank, and you can understand why we cannot long arm the front. All right, so we're underneath the Jeep, and like I said before, the rear end is gonna be your simple long arm install. All these mounts are gonna be cut off, and all this bracket is gonna be a high ground clearance. It's gonna be way up here. And what that does is basically it's gonna keep it from getting hung up on rocks and instantly be better off-road. All the shocks are gonna be mounted further up into the body, so that will allow the shock to come up. We were lifting it up, and instantly I was just super impressed on how well the welds are from the dealership. As you can see, that definitely was done by a blind computer welding machine, if that's possible. Okay, the one big thing with the 2 doors is look at where our cross member is. Now, when we install the long arm on the front, our mounts go right in front of this cross member. Well, we have this huge old gas tank here, and the cross member actually splits the gas tank, so there is no room for the long arm brackets. So we're going to utilize the stock mounts and do our mid arm, and once again, that's how they got the name T-Rex. One more thing that we're really excited about doing is up in the front is we got the best stuff for this Jeep. We pulled it in and it had 800 miles on it all. So when this axle comes out while we're installing the lift, the whole thing's gonna be upfitted with Artec trusses. And they strengthen the axle all the way from knuckle to knuckle, where we got our C brackets, top and bottom. Even the truss actually even gets welded on the inside of the spring purchase. It is super awesome. So Artec trusses, and we got the Artec underskid that's gonna be all aluminum. That is made for the 4-door, but we here at Stacked Off-Road, we're gonna see how it's gonna fit on the 2-door. We're going to accomplish it, and we're gonna bring it right to you so you can do it on your Jeep in your garage. All right, so we got the rear end out, and once again, when you start lift kits like this, get this piece of paper out of the kit box and get on the computer and print out the directions. When you get in complete lift kits like this, it is so much better if you don't get overwhelmed and you always know where you are. Go by the instructions and check everything off as you do it. You can go to lunch, you can leave, come back the next day, and you know exactly where you are. You don't get lost. Big deal, print out the directions. One cool thing, just like all the 3 links, it's gonna get your truss or cradle, whatever you wanna call it, for the 3rd link. One of the coolest things that Krawler is doing and coming out with is how a lot of lift kit companies are just building down off the frame to get our angles correct. Krawler's getting up and out of the way. It's a company that's off-roaders for off-roaders, I guess you can kind of say. But this is a super cool design. It's simple, it's basic, it's tough. It will take a gnarly impact, and you can see how low to the ground. This thing is almost like a plow truck. You could drive through the dirt and plant carrots after the trough it makes. But these are out of the way, tons of ground clearances instantly. You can see as we are going to weld them, you can see the ground clearance difference. We're talking, you know, almost over 3 inches of ground clearance. So these are super exciting, and it's just taking it to a new level. We're raising up the level, I guess you would say. But this is the T-Rex kit. This is the rear axle. We're gonna get ready to start grinding and weld on the next generation of lift kits from Krawler. All right, we're back, and I'm sporting Factor 55. Love you, Justin. But so we're installing these Artec trusses. This is the front Rubicon axle on this 2020 JL. Now, the Artec truss, what is really cool is it even supports the axle underneath your spring tower. So these are gonna install like this and get welded in, and they're gonna be a beautiful piece. But one important thing on lift kit performance and longevity of the parts, the shocks and everything is bump stops. One of the most important adjustments on your lift kit is actually your bump stops. That's why we actually have a flex ramp. The Artec kit is great, but when we go to install our bump stops, if we don't do something, once we support all this, it's gonna be nearly impossible to get a nut on the backside of the bump stop. So what Gil came up with, and I love it, and that's what I'm gonna show you, is we drilled our 1/2 inch hole in the center. We drilled a couple holes on the outside, and that's actually gonna be our access holes for our weld. We're gonna drop a nut or a bolt in there, pick a nut on the backside, we're gonna pull it up, and we're gonna spot weld that nut in place so we can have a great install on our bump stops. Highly important bump stops. But this is great. But you can see the truss fits amazing. Artec, they really have it going, keeping up with the off-road industry. And this is diesel, and this is the front axle Artec truss. This is the first run on the flex ramp after the T-Rex kit was done. We do this so we can get our bump stops and everything set. We do have hydraulic bump stops. In the rear, you can see we can definitely go a little bit more. So we are going to remove the bump stop we have in the back, and I believe it's going to work just fine on the stock pad. On the front, on the other hand, looking at it, we are pretty good where we're at. What we keep in mind is we don't want the tire to be ripping the fender off. We want to keep it out of the bumper and out of the back. So we bump stop it. I'm wobbly. About right there. We're not going to want it to go up much any further. So what we're going to do is right here where our spring, you can see our bump stop is just contacting the axle with 0 bump stopped in, although the axle is drilled ready for bump stops. And if you remember earlier in this video, we had welded nuts. So it's going to be very easy to add bump stops. We are going to put 3 bump stops in the front, take the ones out of the rear. Another thing we look for is all the steering. And our steer smarts, even though it's massive and huge, it is clearing everything very well. Very good. So just a little bit of attention when you're installing that stuff and it will clear nicely. The other thing that we installed was the Artec aluminum skid. You can see how beautiful that thing is. We bought one for the 4-door, and we fabricated to make it work for the 2-door. One of the big things, obviously, is it's a lot shorter. The rear or the front of the skid bolted up basically like it was supposed to on our cross member. We actually made a little bit of a spacer to bring these level. The engine skid and transmission basically bolted up the way it's supposed to. Now this is where it gets crazy. This angle right here, this has all been cut. This angle is supposed to be back here. So this angle is an angle that we cut and developed, worked the aluminum back flat. That was where the bend was. We worked it flat, and you can see how nice it fits. These are for your factory holes for the 4-door. So you can see where we actually cut to fit this piece. This piece has not been fabricated or altered at all. The back of the gas tank fit just like it would on the 4-door and fits very good, and the braces, everything went well. So majority of all the fabrication was on the gas tank skid, and that's the biggest difference, is the gas tank's forward. Hence, that's why we went to the T-Rex. So you can see this was straight actually, and you can see the line. We created this line to match this piece here. And then on the front, you can see these 2 holes here. Those would actually bolt up with this, with a bracket, and you can see where it was cut from Artec. So a little bit of trimming, a little L bracket we made right here, and we drilled some holes to support that for the front of the gas tank. But with a little bit of puzzle making, I guess you could say, we got this 4-door skid put on this 2-door, and it looks amazing. Artec has an amazing, beautiful skid, and for it to work on this 2-door is a major accomplishment. So if you're looking for a 2-door skid, the Artec skid will work. Once again, I'll show you the lines that we cut, and you can see to make your own fit. And then this was cut off flush. The Artec skid, I want to say, was another 10 inches. But these are the lines. You can do it yourself. And that's it. Alrighty, we're gonna get those bump stops done and see how much further this thing can go up.
Good.
So that's it. We're all finished up. This is the 3.5 T-Rex system from Krawler, and I was a little skeptical, but you can see it is just going to be amazing off and on the road. We topped it off with the Steer Smarts Yeti system, all heavy duty steering. That, even though it's big and beefy, it's amazing how good it cleared. It's got the Griffin style drag link on it. We talked about the Artec skids it's got on it, and we went ahead with the Dirty Life and the Patagonia Milestar tires, along with the Artec front trusses and all their skids, no limit sway bar links. So this Jeep has really turned out amazing. It's unique. It's a one of a kind with the extra fab work we did to make a lot of these parts work with each other, and we're just super pumped. It's got, the owner did some research, and he sent us some locked bump stops, hydraulic bump stops, front and rear, and they seem to be working just fine. So I'm excited to get his feedback about the whole Jeep, and then I'll definitely ask him about the locked bump stops. But besides that, we're really excited. It looks amazing on the flex ramp, and I hope this video helps you out with your purchase and what you might want to do with your 2-door JL. This is Diesel Stacked Off-Road, and I appreciate